Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So in the state of California, every single year, without fail, new gun control laws become effective. And this year is absolutely no different. There are two different months that this happens in. Now you guys probably already saw the first one, which was in January. We saw SB 2 become effective until thankfully the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, or at least a 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, decided that they were going to uphold an injunction against the sensitive locations aspect of that bill. Now there's another one that's going to be coming up here fairly soon that I want you guys, well actually a couple, that I want you guys to be aware of so that you can prepare beforehand. So today we're going to be talking about a couple new gun control laws that are going to become effective in the state of California right around the corner. Let's get to it. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about today's sponsor, which is Delete Me, an amazing service that allows you to get your online privacy back. Believe it or not, there are data brokerage sites out there whose sole mission is to gather and sell your personal data. So what is Delete Me and how does it help? Well, Delete Me is a company that cares about your personal privacy. And so what they will do is collect your information and then search those data brokerage sites and remove your personal identifying information from them. Now, I personally have a Delete Me account, and in just the first week alone, they've already removed my information from 15 sites. Your dashboard gives you all of the information that you're going to need in order to control your online privacy. For instance, some of the data you can find on your dashboard are listings reviewed. In my case, there was 8,881, and the type of exposed data that they found. So if your online data privacy is important to you, join Delete Me. Use the link down below to save 20% or use the discount code COPPERJACKET. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right into this. Now, both of these new laws are going to be taking effect on July 1st of 2024. Now, the reason that I am making this video in March of 2024 is to give you some time to prepare, because at least one of these is going to require you to take advantage of the time that you have between now and then. So let's go ahead and talk about the first one. The first one is kind of wild. It is essentially a ban on 3D printers. Any 3D printer that is essentially marketed for people to finish something that might be 80%, right? Anything that is marketed towards that, whether it's primarily marketed towards that or it's marketed towards that in some form or fashion, maybe even just a photo on the website. Anything that is marketed towards this particular space that we're talking about today is going to be illegal. The only way that you would be able to get your hands on one of those is if you were a licensed manufacturer in the state of California. Now, if you own them, there is no grandfather clause in this one. So it basically says in the bill that if you have one of these 3D printing devices and it was ever marketed towards that whatsoever, you have, I think it's 90 days to get rid of it. So you have 90 days effectively to get rid of it, send it out of state, turn it in, whatever, because just owning it alone would make you an unlicensed manufacturer in the state of California, and that's the end of that. You can't make anything with it. As a matter of fact, this goes as far as violating your First Amendment rights, because they even say that transmitting code into California. So if you have the code, or you use the code, or you transmit the code to somebody else in California, just that alone is something that would get you into some serious hot water, again, breaking their manufacturing laws. So it's more of a violation than just your Second Amendment rights. They're also violating your First Amendment rights with this one. It's all about manufacturing. You make one, you're a manufacturer. You have a license? No? Well, then you're done, according to this new law. So there is that's going to be starting on July 1st, but that's not the one that everybody is interested in. I understand that there's people out there that still do that, but the one that people are most interested in is going to be the 11% additional tax that you're going to be seeing on everything. So firearms, ammunition, all of that stuff is going to have an additional 11% tax, and that's going to be starting July 1st too. Now, here's the thing that you have to remember. When I say additional, that means that it's going to be on top of any pre-existing tax. So if they're already taxed at a higher rate, which they are in California, 10 to 11% depending on what it is, you're going to be adding another 11% on top of that, bringing the total up to a potential of 22%. So anywhere from 21 to 22%, you're going to see increase. Now, this isn't directly a tax on the consumer. It's a tax on the place that you would go to get it, okay? So they're now going to be seeing a 22% tax. The only way for them to make that up, because the margins are already so slim, is to transfer that additional cost to the consumer. So even though it's not directly a tax on you, it is going to affect you exactly the same way. Because if you're already seeing a 10% increase there and you're adding another 11%, I guarantee you're going to see that tacked on to the sticker. So that's the one that I was talking about, where you want to plan ahead, right? So we have only a few months until July 1st hits, right? And when July 1st hits, you're going to see the price of everything skyrocket. I just take the price of something that's $500. If you take that $500 and you add, let's say, a 20% tax, that's an extra $100. Right? And that could be more. It could be $110 that's tacked on to everything else, including, your dross cost and, all your fees and everything else that's associated with that specific market is going to make that price go up. So something that's $500 turns into $600, plus you add the fees and all the extra stuff that you have to do, and now that turns into $700. It's just out of control. So the reason that I'm telling you early, again, is so that you can plan. If there's something that you want, I suggest that you get it now before July 1st, because after July 1st, it's going to take you some time to save that extra bit of money. Because again, that number goes up exponentially, right? So for 1,000, you're looking at 200. That's a lot of extra money that you would need. So again, just keep that in mind. If there's something that you're looking at now, now's the time, not after July 1st. Now, one thing to note about this law, while it's completely unconstitutional in my opinion, you're not allowed to tax a right, the state of California seems to be prepared for any lawsuit that may arise from this, because in the bill itself that was signed by the governor, they list historical analogs that prove that they have a right to impose this new tax. But the thing is that their historical analogs are from the 20th century. They're from 1913, 1934, when clearly in Bruin it says that in order for something to stand, it has to be from the time when the Constitution, or not the Constitution was written, but the time that the Second Amendment was ratified in 1791. And they do list that it could go all the way up to the 1860s, during the Reconstruction era, but absolutely nothing from the 20th century is old enough to be considered a historical tradition of regulation in this country. So they're already listing things that are outside of that scope, outside of that timeline whatsoever. Now, who's this going to affect? Well, obviously it's going to affect people like you. It would affect people like me. It's going to affect the law-abiding, and that's it. The people who probably need these things the most, who are having a hard time just simply affording their gas bill, it's going to affect them, because every single dollar matters, right? Do I put that dollar in my refrigerator, or do I go out and I get something that I can use to defend myself? I'm going to have to make that choice a lot harder now, because this is going to affect so many law-abiding people that just want to practice one of their rights. It's not going to affect the guy that goes down and gets something out of a trunk. It's not going to affect him at all. The people out there who already are bad actors, they could care less what law they pass. I mean, how many times do you see people who are up to no good, complain that the governor just signed some new law? They don't care. This has no effect on them whatsoever, and it's not intended to have an effect on them. This is intended to try and subvert the Constitution and your rights altogether. When people say that, hey, this is just going to affect the law-abiding, and they kind of just stick with that, they're not seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that this is who it's intended to affect. That's who they want to see have an impact because of this law. So I wanted to make you guys aware of it, because again, we have a very short window here from now until the time that this takes effect if you are on a tight budget. So I wanted to make you guys aware of that. I wanted to share this out there so that nobody's surprised come July 1st that, hey, wow, things got more expensive. So again, I wanted to share that, and I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all the support, all the thumbs up, everybody who subscribes and watches these videos. Thank you all very, very much. And with that being said, you guys have a great day.